I was really blessed when I got married that my bride-to-be was a simple person. And I don't mean simple in the mind, but I mean satisfied with life in so many ways, just enjoying life as it is. You know, there are a lot of guys who get married, and when they propose to the girl, the size of the ring says to her, do you love me or not? And whether or not you have impressed her with the engagement ring. I know guys who will date a girl 2 or 3 years because the cost of the ring is so high, he's got to save up for it and save up for it and save up for it. Or, in my opinion, a bad idea, go deep in debt for it. When I proposed to my wife, I had a $99 ring, not 99-cent ring, but a $99 ring that I had picked out of one of the department stores in the mall. It was a nice ring. It was simple. It had a single tiny little stone in it, and that was the engagement ring. Well, over 22 years, one of the promises that I made to myself, I didn't really tell her, but was that every year I would upgrade that ring. And it took till about year 15 that I bought her a ring, and I asked her, when I replace that one, what other style or thing do you want? And she said, you'll never have to replace this one. I'm perfectly happy with it. And that particular ring she still wears to this day. It was a setting, a style, a design that we both had loved for years but couldn't afford. And it took a long time to save up to it to get to that. It's still not as extravagant as some people that I know. One lady that I have known for a while actually has stones that were settings from wedding rings and various things that she accumulated over the years. And the earrings alone are valued somewhere near $40,000. Now, I can't imagine sending my wife out into the street with $40,000 hanging from her ears. As much as I love her, I'm afraid that she may not come back with her ears because someone else would want them more. To me, that seems risky. But the value of that stone compared to what's in a wedding ring or what's on a pendant or what you might see at the jewelry store is significantly different from one stone to the next. It's not just the type of stone. The malachite that I brought back from Africa is gorgeous, beautiful green stone. I'll show it to you sometime. But it has no translucence whatsoever. It reflects light well, and it has great coloring to it. It has great texture to it, but it doesn't have any light coming through it. When you think of the more precious stones, the rubies and the sapphires and the emeralds, these are all stones that when they're cut right and you shine the light through them, the light just shatters into different places and different pieces and different colors like an exploding rainbow. There's a new radio and television program by a good friend of mine by the name of Jeannie Nigro. Jeannie Nigro's program is called Facets of the Stone, and it's about how when you look at God, there's so many different ways that God faces us, a facet, the different directions that the light comes from. I want to take this a little differently and explain that we are like those precious stones. We are like the diamonds and the rubies and the emeralds. And I put this on my Facebook post yesterday, and I'm thinking it may have been a little foggy for people because not a whole lot of people responded to it. If you've ever been to a jewelry store, when you look at a stone, they don't just put it in your hand to look at it. First thing they do is they make sure that it's clean, and then they lay it usually on a dark colored fabric of velvet or something of that nature. And then they put it in a place where there's a very specific type of a light, a very pure, very bright white light shining right on the stone. And then when you pick the stone up, if you take it out of the light or if you look at it, and usually rather than touching the stone and leaving fingerprints on it, they'll use a pen or they'll use a large pair of tweezers to move the stone around so you can see it and see its clarity. But they always keep it under the light. They don't bring it out under natural light. They keep it under that very bright white light. They keep it where the light is hottest, if you will, where it's the brightest. And they move that stone around so that you can see all of the light shining from it from every direction. And as they tilt it to the left and the right, the same light is hitting it from one place, but each side reflects light in a different way and refracts light in a different way. I want to offer you today that you are that stone. You are that precious jewel. You are the diamond that's laying on the black velvet. Now, what is the black velvet in your life? Well, it is your life. Because without the contrast of the black velvet, the stone would be nothing. Maybe not invisible, but not significant for sure. But the minute you put that shiny stone in front of the light and on top of the black velvet, the whole perspective of what you're looking at changes. If we didn't have the dark times in our life, the jewels in us couldn't shine. If we didn't have the light shining on us to shine through us, the jewels in our lives couldn't shine. But with the dark contrast and the bright light, our life and our God, the jewels in us shine. So what then is the jewel? Well, we are the jewel, and the facets of our life are the gifts that we offer back to God. They're the same gifts that he gave us. They're the cut, if you will. And some people's lives are a princess cut, and some are a teardrop cut, and some are more of an oval cut, and some are an emerald cut. There was a girl that I was dating many years before I met my wife that the ring of her choice, what she really wanted, was a 1-carat emerald cut stone. And I became very good because of the time that she had spent studying them, looking at these stones. And the beauty of an emerald cut is it has very few facets. Generally, it's flat across the top. It has a bevel on each of the 4 sides from the top. And then the really expensive emerald cut stones also have a flat bottom. Well, what does that mean? That means when you look through the stone from the top, if there are any flaws whatsoever, any carbon deposits, any yellowing, any miscoloring, anything in that stone, it glares. You don't even have to have a loupe sometimes to look at an emerald cut stone and tell that it's not perfect. The minute you add more facets to it, the imperfections in some places are simply cut away. In other places, the imperfections are overwhelmed by the shine of that particular facet. And without a loupe and an expert eye, you just look at that stone and its dazzling brilliance as it reflects the light, and you think, wow, that's gorgeous. Every gift that God has given you is like another facet of that stone. The ability to communicate, the ability to love the unlovable, the ability to be gracious with strangers. Perhaps it's the ability to give. Some people have been blessed not only to have finances, but to have good stewardship ideas of how to grow those finances into something else, how to take what God's given them or what they've earned or what's been given to them through legacies and explode it into even more money, like the light through the facets of the stone. And people who can manage finances that way, or manage people that way, or manage a business that way, those types of talents, those types of gifts are God-given gifts. And when they're anointed, like the anointed singer, like the anointed teacher, like the anointed athlete, those things become facets of a stone that shine in an entirely different way. We also know, though, that those lives taken from the light, or those lives not against the contrast of the backdrop, when someone tries to hide their life so that the real contrast doesn't show, or when they try to move from under the bright light when God's not shining through them. If you take that same stone and you backtrack its life to the raw diamond in the ground, or the raw coal before it became a diamond, when that carbon deposit was not yet under pressure. I love that song. He's making diamonds out of dust because he's making diamonds out of us. Man, that is a powerful word picture of the way that God changes us into something brilliant because his light is shining through it. But if your life is not against the contrast, if the gifts in you have not been laid against the contrast of your life, if the gifts in you have not been put before the light of God, that he can shine through you, or in the worst case scenario, when the stone in your life becomes the only light that you have. We know, we've seen athletes, we've seen performers, we've seen entertainers, we've seen communicators, even pastors who, as I talked about yesterday, they so worship the dream and not the dream giver, that they take the stone and they move it from under the light, and here's what they're thinking, and it's a corrupted thinking, but they think, look how brilliant my stone is. I could put that anywhere and it will shine. And there's a tiny bit of truth that whatever light is around, that stone is going to reflect and refract. But the further you get from the light, the less light there is to shine through you. And here's something you need to know about a diamond. A diamond in the dark can't be seen. If you take the most precious stone and you drop it in a drawer, or you walk into a closet and close the door and stand there and look at it, it's nothing. It's no different than a piece of ice. It has no ability to generate light on its own. And so it is with you, my friend. The gifts that God has given you, the life that God has given you, the contrast of the good and the bad, the failures of life, the pain and the heartaches, the brokenness that we are. All of those things become the nice, beautiful backdrop for our stone to shine from. And although the beauty of our gifts and talents put into play become the thing that everyone else sees as the dazzling brilliance of light is refracted, without God as the light in your life, there's nothing to see. You've seen that in the movies when the cops are going, come on, move on, nothing to see here, nothing to see here. That's your life hidden from God. There's nothing to see here. Isaiah 54, starting in verse 11, it says, afflicted city, storm battered, unpitied. That's our life, that dark backdrop. I'm about to rebuild you with stones of turquoise, lay your foundations with sapphires, construct your towers with rubies, your gates with jewels, and all your walls with precious stones. All your children will have God for their teacher. What a mentor for your children. You will be built solid, grounded in righteousness, far from any trouble, nothing to fear, far from terror. It won't even come close. If anyone attacks you, don't for a moment suppose that I sent them. And if anyone should attack, nothing will come of it. I create the blacksmith who fires up his forge and makes weapons designed to kill. I create the destroyer, but no weapon that can hurt you has ever been forged. Any accuser who takes you to court will be dismissed as a liar. This is what God's servants can expect. I'll see to it that everything works out for your best. That's God's decree. What a powerful and encouraging thing to know that once God has us in his grasp, once the light of God is shining through our life against the dark backdrop, the afflicted city, the storm battered, the unpitied, that our God will step in, that he will protect us like you would protect a precious stone. You don't take $40,000 earrings off and throw them on the bathroom counter for any stranger to slip in their pocket. Those go in a vault. Those go in a safe. Those type of stones, like you are, like I am, those are protected by the owner. Not just I know where they are, but I know where they are and I'm watching over them. And if anything comes after them, they got to go through me first. That's the way God looks at the precious stones of your life. And every gift of your life is another place for him to shine his light into the light of the world. My challenge for you today is this. I want you to look at the gifts that God has given you, all of the abilities, all of the talents, all of the skills, and ask yourself, if the light were to hit that, if the sun were to hit that, is it clean enough? Is it polished enough? Have I worked on that area enough that the light of God would shine through it in a dazzling brilliance? And if you look at that stone and you think, no, there's still some deposits of carbon in there. There's still some smudges on the outside. If I were to put it under the light, I don't think it would reflect at all. Then take some time to get alone with God and work those things out. Spend some time polishing. Spend some time trusting God. Spend some time with God and let the light of a glorious God shine through you. My name is J Loren Norris, and you've been watching Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.